Hello, everybody. My name is Tom, and today we'll be talking about triple nine.
Out here, there is no good and there is no bad. To survive out here, you gotta out-monster the monster.
Can you do that?
I watched this movie on a whim. I didn't know anything about it. If I did, apparently I already erased any knowledge of it. But I primarily watched it because of everyone who was in it. It's filled with A-listers. But that's the interesting thing, though, is star power, shockingly, doesn't usually equate to wild success. So let's talk about the director, writer, cast, and any other important things that may pop up before we talk about the plot and my review. John Hillcoat is our director. Now, going into this movie, I have never seen a Hillcoat movie, and I'm not surprised. Many of his movies are Australian movies with low budgets and, pretty good reviews, usually averaging around 7 out of 10. His two American films, excluding this one, were well received, one of them winning a BAFTA, but I think the other one is generally forgot. But those were The Road and Lawless with Shia LaBeouf and Tom Hardy. But what John Hillcoat is really famous for is his music videos, especially the ones with his longtime collaborator, Nick Cave of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, who, Nick Cave that is, also happened to write his first movie, Ghost of the Civil Dead, and also Lawless. His music video career began with INX's Melting in the Sun in 1984. That career is still ongoing with his last music video being Run the Jewels, Never Look Back. But recently, starting in 2017, he began working on TV shows, directing one episode of Black Mirror. Episode is Crocodile, before directing the full miniseries George and Tammy, a TV show about country singers George Jones and Tammy Wynette. And finally, in 2023, he directed 4 episodes of Lioness for Paramount. Now, we come over to our writer, Matt Cook. Matt Cook began his career back in 2008, not writing though, but directing. His first movie was a documentary about 2 U.S. military vets swimming across the Strait of Gibraltar in order to raise funds for wounded soldiers of Iraq and Afghanistan, called Swim. After this success, he decided to never direct again and instead pursued a career in writing. In 2010, he wrote a short film called The River, and I suppose during a 6-year hiatus between his works being published or not, he went around Hollywood probably script doctoring or having his projects be purchased, but ultimately never passing the green light to film. Before finally, though, in 2016, his second project, Triple Nine, was turned into a film. But not just Triple Nine. That year, he actually had 3 projects turned into films: Triple Nine, The Duel, and Patriots Day. What I find funniest is that the fact that neither one of those movies turned a profit at the box office. And that's actually what most of his career is. Mediocre to fine movies, Patriots Day being the only exception that peaked at 7, and the only one of them actually being a box office success, and that mainly has to do with the fact that it was part of a trilogy, not because it was wildly received, and that was Angel Has Fallen. But since 2019, Matt Cook hasn't had anything make it past the green light, with 2 mentions of future projects that have no discernible timetable. Now, our star-studded cast of A-listers, TV juggernauts, and Ben Affleck's baby brother. Casey Affleck is a terrific actor, maybe. I really haven't seen anything with him in it, and his performance in this was fine. But I can't really call an actor great in a bad movie. But as much as I haven't seen Casey Affleck in movies, critics have. His real acknowledgement as an actor came in 2007 with the assassination of Jesse James by coward Robert Ford. That's a long title. His next attention-getting performance came in 2007's Gone Baby Gone and 2010's Killer Inside Me. But Affleck really gained attention in 2016 as depressed asocial loner. Wait, wrong Affleck. Oh, never mind. Casey played one. Ben is one. Right, right. Um, oh, okay. His performance was in Manchester by the Sea, which he won a lot of awards for. In Triple Nine, he plays Detective Chris Allen, Jeffrey's nephew, and Michelle's husband, and that's really it. He's a little more streetwise than other cops believe, but you really don't know enough or aren't told enough to understand that, ooh, he knows some things. He's just a character. Anthony Mackie, who you probably recognize best for his performance as Sam Wilson in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's done some other things, but who remembers Hurt Locker, or his performance as Tupac in Notorious, or Martin Luther King in All the Way, or his most recent outing in TV shows like Twisted Metal or The Studio, right? In Triple Nine, he plays Detective Marcus Belmont, a corrupt police officer who should have been our antagonist lead, but we had to spread the camera around. Chiwetel Ejiofor, which I'm pretty sure I didn't say that correctly. I actually thought if I could have rewritten this whole movie, it would have been about him. And by his resume and his accolades, he would have carried this movie to glory. He has had numerous recipients of various accolades, including a British Academy Film Award, BAFTA, and a Laurence Olivier Award, in addition to nominations for the Academy Award, 2 Primetime Emmy Awards, 5 Golden Globe Awards. And in 2008, he was appointed an officer of the Order of the British Empire. And in 2015, he was promoted to commander for his service to the arts. That would have sounded more impressive if I didn't end it with service to the arts. But you probably best know him from the heavily promoted Backrooms movie, or you're like me, still waiting for Baron Mordo and Doctor Strange to battle. In Triple Nine, he plays Michael Atwood, a career criminal who was married to Gal Gadot. And I mean, they have a kid, but that's about it. That's all their story is. Clifton Collins Jr. is a Primetime Emmy Award, Independent Spirit Award, Satellite Award, and a 4-time Alma Award nominee, and a Screen Actors Guild Award winner. But I don't remember him from anything. In this movie, he plays Detective Franco Rodriguez, another corrupt officer who doesn't mind killing his friends. And that plays into the movie later when we go over the script. Woody Harrelson is probably best known for his role as the charmingly naive Woody Boyd on my personal favorite TV show, Cheers, where he won 1 Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series, which he was actually nominated 5 times for. He would also have 3 Academy Award nominations, 1 for lead actor for The People vs. Larry Flynt, and 2 for Best Supporting Actor for The Messenger and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Other shows that he was nominated for, and by modern standards are best known for, is Marty Hart in True Detective Season 1 and as Steve Schmidt in Game Change. In Triple Nine, he plays Sergeant Jeffrey Allen, Chris's uncle, which is a pointless family connection. Aaron Paul, Jesse Pinkman. That's what most people know him for, playing the character for 14 years across 2 shows and a movie. You may also know him from a myriad of other things like Scott Quitman in Big Love or Need for Speed. I know him best outside of Breaking Bad world for the TV shows BoJack Horseman, where he played Todd Chavez, and The Path, where he played Eddie Lane. Good show. Council 2 too. In Triple Nine, he plays a disgraced police officer, I think, turned drug addict Gabriel Gabe Welch. Also, Russell's brother, who is played by Norman Reedus. He is originally part of the robbers, but because of his stupid decisions and his protesting of killing a cop, it doesn't matter. The movie doesn't spend enough time with him anyways. And finally, Kate Winslet is an award-winning actress who received numerous accolades, including an Academy Award, 2 Primetime Emmy Awards, 5 BAFTA Awards, 5 Golden Globes Awards. She was appointed Commander of the Order of the British Empire in 2012. I could spend this whole time talking about everything she's in and all the accolades she's won, but we need to get this show on the road. Just go watch Mayor of Easttown or I Am Ruth, her 2 most recent award-winning shows or movies. The lady is a monster performer who deserves every single one of her awards. In Triple Nine, she plays Irina Vasilov, a Russian criminal lord and Alina's sister, who is played by Gal Gadot. But like so many of the other cast members, what could have been a cold, calculating villain, she is diluted into a car bomb by the end. And finally, the honorable mentions. The other big stars in the movie that really shouldn't be in it is Gal Gadot, Norman Reedus, Teresa Palmer, and Michael K. Williams. For Gal Gadot, this was post Fast Furious, and the same year she had her breakout role as Wonder Woman in Dawn of Justice. Norman Reedus, famous for Boondock Saints or Daryl on Walking Dead. Teresa Palmer, honestly shouldn't have been in this. Remove all the scenes with her in it, and the movie doesn't change. And finally, Michael K. Williams. Why? Great actor. Brought on for a 10-minute part where he dressed up like a hooker, or maybe a stripper. I think this movie really just wanted to show everyone, look who we got in our movie. And that's it. On to the plot, provided by Wikipedia. Why? I'm going to have to watch this movie at least twice, if not 3 times, and I need a break. An Atlanta criminal crew consisting of former Navy SEALs Michael Atwood and Russell Welch, Russell's ex-brother Gabe, and corrupt APD detectives Marcus Belmont and Franco Rodriguez rob a bank to retrieve a safe deposit box, which contains information that could overturn the conviction of a Jewish Russian mafia boss. A conviction, by the way, that was used by Putin to put him in jail. And I just don't think there's any overturning.
What's a Vasily Vaslov?
A Russian Jew. Russian mob boss, to be exact. Get this.
Putin's so scared of this guy, he put him in the gulag 4 years ago without charges.
When Michael brings the safety deposit box to the boss's wife, Irina, just going to skip past the amazing opening 10 or so minutes. I mean, if you're going to watch this, just watch that. She withholds their reward money and gives Michael and his crew another mission, which involves breaking into a DHS office, Department of Homeland Security, and stealing more data on her husband. To convince them to take the job, the mafia tortures and then dumps a mortally wounded Russell off in front of the crew, forcing Michael to mercy kill Russell in front of them. And this is when, honestly, you should have your psychopath, Franco, do it in order to establish his ruthless nature, but we'll cover that a little bit later into the plot. The group decides to go forward with the job, and Marcus and Franco suggest a 999 scenario, which involves an officer down, a call that sends all police to the location of the incident. This will be brought up in my review later as well. But with Marcus nominating his partner, Chris Allen, a Marine veteran, as a cop to be killed. Marcus tries to befriend Chris as they go out on calls together. During one call, Chris attempts to question a local gang member, Luis Pinto, about a gang-related homicide, only for Luis to attack Chris before being detained. Chris's uncle, Jeffrey Allen, a detective in the police working on a bank robbery case, gets a lead and discovers that Gabe is involved in the bank robbery, which the whole thing is very convoluted with questioning a drag queen on the word of a drug addict. Yeah. Gabe, still grieving over his brother, tries to stop the heist from happening by following Chris and Marcus around and telling Chris, but is stopped both by Michael and Jeffrey. I would say more Marcus than Michael, though. On the day of the heist, Marcus takes Chris to an abandoned housing project to meet an informant with information on a homicide case. As they walk around the building, Marcus slips away and Luis comes in and tries to kill Chris. Chris bumps into Gabe, who tries to warn him that he is going to die. Luis then charges in and tries to shoot Chris, but hits Gabe. As the Luis runs away, Chris confronts a critically wounded Gabe. Before Gabe can say anything, Marcus comes in, triggering a shootout between the two. Gabe and Marcus, that is. Gabe is killed and Marcus is shot in the head. Fearing Marcus is dead, Chris makes the 999 call. Thinking his nephew is the officer down, Jeffrey rushes to the scene. Meanwhile, Michael and Franco break into the office and steal the information. Luis flees the projects and is later shot dead by SWAT after barricading himself in a nearby home. In the aftermath, Marcus survives but is in critical condition. Michael meets with Irina for the exchange. He has a gift for his son to give to him upon their reunion. Irina gives him the money but does not bring Michael's son, as she had promised to do earlier. Michael and Irina were earlier revealed to have a family relationship. The mother of Michael's son is Irina's sister. And that tells you a lot about Gal Gadot's character, that I can make it nearly to the end of the plot without mentioning Michael's son or Irina's sister. Bad script. After being beaten, Michael walks back to his car and triggers a bomb that was wired into the gift, killing Irina. As he pulls away, Michael is pulled over by Franco, who kills him and steals the money with no buildup. After investigating Luis's belongings at the morgue, Chris finds a note in Luis's wallet, which contains the location where Marcus took him the day of the shooting. Chris later finds out that Marcus met Luis on the day of the shooting, letting him know where to kill Chris. Angered, Chris visits an unconscious Marcus to try to get answers, but is interrupted by Franco, who invites Chris back to the station to get his account of the shooting. As the two head to the car, Chris receives a call from Jeffrey, who tells him that Franco has been cleaning the house and that he might be next. Chris stops and tells Franco that he'll meet him at the station. Franco, realizing Chris has been tipped off about his involvement, agrees to meet Chris there. As the two head out to their respective cars, Jeffrey is seen in the back seat of Franco's car, and they both shoot each other when Franco takes a seat in his car. Franco is killed, and Jeffrey is shot in the chest. As Chris makes a 999 call, Jeffrey calmly pulls a joint out and smokes it, leaving his fate unknown. Oh yeah, Jeffrey, the police detective, is also a drug addict, so great testimony all around. And I guess Franco will have the money at his place, and with everyone dead, I also think that Marcus may get away with nearly killing Chris, so yeah. Now, let me tell you what I dislike about this movie. Well, first, let me start off and tell you the one thing I really enjoyed. The first 10 minutes. The whole robbery scene prepared me for a high-octane thrill ride that would have probably hit familiar beats to other heist movies like The Town, another Affleck movie. Instead, it was followed by nothing that ever hit that opening again, which is disappointing because that opening, if the movie was just going to stay slow-paced as it was, should have been our build-up for the grand finale of the movie. Because if it isn't, which is what happened to this movie, then that's all people can think about is that opening. The polar opposite of this would be like The Dark Knight. Joker's robbery of the bank in the beginning is followed by 2 or 3 hours or so of escalations. The interrogation scene is just as well remembered as the bank scene or the disappearing pencil act. Every time Joker is on the screen, Heath Ledger's performance, the dialogue, and the littlest things happening builds up and up to our grand finale. But the actual finale to the movie is Harvey Dent's death. But it pays off that all that build up. This movie, nothing lived up to the opening act. But I will say that this is my honest assessment. You may feel differently, but coming over to the beginning of my list of grievances. The movie is packed with pointless characters. Gal Gadot's Alina is so unimportant that the very plot I just read makes reference to her at the end in a rushed, 1-2 sentences? Her character could have been leverage or subterfuge against our main character, Michael, who I would have rewritten as the main character. She was a little subterfuge with taking Michael's son to Israel in order to make him do the job, but it's not built up, and it is kind of implied that it was more of the sister's behest than her. Seeing over the course of the movie an escalating tension between Alina and Michael before her ultimate betrayal, choosing family over family, could have sold that. But she isn't the only pointless character. Similar to Alina is Teresa Palmer's Michelle, a character who plays Chris's or Casey Affleck's wife. She is completely pointless, because the movie never truly makes anyone the main character. We have moments of main character moments, but no one is ever really the main character. There's no central protagonist, no pillar that the movie follows for most of the duration. It's evenly split between 6 to 8 characters, which makes her inclusion shallow because she's just something like Casey Affleck's child in this, that's meant to make you feel bad for Casey Affleck because the movie is about how the villains are going to martyr him so they can rob a bank. But the martyring isn't carried out, and Casey Affleck doesn't assume the role of the hero or the main character, and his wife and child are unaffected for the whole movie. Compare this to End of Watch, where one cop has a baby on the way, the other one just had his first kid. But the movie isn't about the wives, it's about how these two men's lives are tossed upside down and how everything is about to end for both of them, and you hope they escape because that inclusion of the fiance and the wife with a baby makes them more human and grounded and more devastating as you watch the inevitableness close in around them. Another character that could have been written out is Michael K. Williams' drag queen, maybe a transgender, I don't know. Sweet Pea is the name, though. The whole conversation could have taken place on the phone or between two cops, with one saying, "My informant tells me about how they may be a hit out on a cop. This is her boyfriend." And then you show a picture of Aaron Paul. That simple. But this is more of an example of them trying to show you that they got all these actors to be in this movie, yet it still isn't good. Let's see. In my notes, I wrote down that the movie needed a 4-hour director's cut, or possibly it could do better if it was a TV show broken into like 8 episodes. But the real issue is the lack of central focus of the characters. So the 4-hour director's cut wouldn't fix the issue with this movie. But I will say that you can have a movie that has more than one main character. A good example of this is Lord of the Rings, especially the Two Towers. But what they did in that movie compared to this one is they broke the fellowship up and gave each one a pillar of the story. Frodo is the pillar of the Sam and Gollum team. Aragorn is the pillar for Legolas and Gimli. And interestingly, Peter Jackson had Merry and Pippin share the screen equally, almost always together in the same shot. If we did this with this movie, Michael would be our pillar for the robbers, never crossing paths with Casey Affleck, and revealing that Anthony Mackie's character is their insider near the end of the movie. Chris would be our pillar for the police, with Anthony Mackie as the only other character in the circle, and Irina, played by Kate Winslet, would be the pillar for the gangsters and the mob. It's an easy fix by simply removing the focus from other characters and placing it within these certain characters and telling the story from their point of view. A good example would be right here, when Anthony Mackie's character, Marcus, is beating up Aaron Paul's Gabe, who wants to tell Chris about the 999 targeting. Instead of showing us Marcus beating up Gabe, by readjusting our pillars of focus onto Chris as being the main character, you would show Chris instead opening the door, seeing Marcus beat up Gabe. It's just a simple change of perspective. It makes you go, who is that guy? Now, this next argument is a big bugaboo for me. I'll first show you this clip where our characters are talking about a 999 and then show you the transition to them finishing the conversation at what I think is a strip club.
We could pull a 999.
Not such a bad idea.
Buy you 10 minutes.
Oh, yo, enough of this cop shit. English. 999, fuck is that?
So what, we do this 999, we get 10 clear minutes?
Kill a cop, you get all damn day.
The 999 gets called in. All units in the area converge on the down officer. It's open season. Everybody wants a piece of cop killing. It's like...
So the question, did our character hold up his finger and say, wait a minute, then take his crew to a strip club before finishing his thought? Why would he go from a semi-private to a semi-public? Why even mention the 999 there? Why not mention at the strip club when they're planning their next heist? The movie, though, is actually filled with lots of this. And the movie also had this rapid-fire day and night sequence. One conversation starts in the day, and then we transition to the night, where we have another conversation, and then back and forth and back and forth.
That's disgusting.
Waste not, want not.
Speak.
Hey, I got you that info. Gabriel Charles Welsh, 35. He served 3 years on the force.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, racked up a slew of reprimands before getting dismissed for a questionable shooting.
Questionable how?
Suicide by cop.
Associate?
Yeah, none on file.
Oh, where there's one, there's another. Well, you always come through for me. I have no doubt you will again. And, fucking cop. Come on.
Characters have conversations over the course of days, when a lot of the conversations they have would have been covered in one conversation, maybe one big conversation that would have been 5 minutes long. And finally, my last point, the movie is just very unsatisfying. I don't know how to describe it. It's morally tidy. The whole story is about how these criminals are going to pull off this job for a big payday. Michael is being blackmailed or leveraged by the mobster who has his son. Okay. So at the end of the movie, the bad guys are all eliminated. You don't actually need to do that, though. No Country for Old Men taught us that sometimes the villains can win, especially since this movie has no true hero. The other really bad thing they did with Casey Affleck's Chris is because he's never turned into a pillar, he also never turned into a hero. The movie spends all this time building him up. It believes it's making you care for him. It isn't. By introducing his wife, his child, Woody Harrelson's as his uncle, it makes him an ex-soldier, a good cop, and never makes him the hero. In the end, the 999 is stopped, kind of, by Aaron Paul's Gabe shooting Anthony Mackie's Marcus, thus saving Chris and triggering the 999. Chris finally finds out the truth at the end of the movie, so instead of giving him a grand showdown between him and Franco, the movie gives it to Woody Harrelson, who discovered the truth hours before and was waiting in the back of Franco's car. That affects storytelling. You never made Chris more than an object that the story revolves around. Not a character, he's an object. Also, the car bombing the mobsters, Franco killing Michael with no buildup, and the backseat Woody Harrelson shooting was just a big mess of storytelling that didn't feel satisfying or realistic or any true payoff. The movie was just trying to tell you, hey, we got all the bad guys. It's just, I don't know, it was just stupid. But that's my review. Sorry for being rough on this movie, especially if you like it. But yeah, outside of that, you guys have a good one. Bye.